Wait. We need the jingle. Hold on.
3, 2, 1, go.
Religion, revision, revision with Bryden. Well, that's quite enough of that malarkey. Let's get serious. I'm going to talk to you about Holy Week. Why are we talking about Holy Week? Well, in your Christian practices paper, there will be a section on festivals, and Easter is obviously the most important of the Christian festivals. And to understand Easter, you really got to understand Holy Week. Holy Week is probably the most significant part of the Christian calendar. It starts with Palm Sunday, which is where Jesus and the followers all march into Jerusalem, waving palms and singing Hosanna. That's Palm Sunday, which marks the start of Holy Week. Then the week continues with really significant events for Christian worship taking place. And it finishes with Easter Saturday, which is the day after Jesus died. Easter Sunday, which is of course the resurrection, isn't actually part of Holy Week. So always remember 7 days from Palm Sunday, the entry into Jerusalem, to Easter Saturday. So in terms of the story of Holy Week, there's some really significant events, moments in the life of Jesus that happen, like when he goes into the temple and all people are buying and selling stuff, and people are charging to change money there so that you can pay more money to the Roman Empire. And Jesus goes like, get out, and he flips tables and he chases people out with a whip. That's kind of cool. That's part of Holy Week, which is why sometimes when people celebrate during Holy Week, they actually strip the altars, like cleanse the temples. But really it's the Last Supper, which is Maundy Thursday. So the Thursday after he enters Jerusalem is when we get this Last Supper, which is so significant in terms of ritual practice by Christians today. So Judas scurries off to go and do his betrayal things, selling out his best mate. What a snake! And Jesus goes to a garden to pray. Judas returns with the guards, and he identifies which one is Jesus with a kiss. It's just so heartbreakingly sad. Jesus doesn't resist the arrest, even though the other disciples start getting a bit aggro. Like Simon Peter chops off one of the guards' ears, but Jesus tells him, put away the sword. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. And Jesus has this calm acceptance of what is going to happen. So this is very late Thursday night. So Jesus faces his trial, such as it is. He goes backwards and forwards between Herod and Pilate until Pilate famously says, I wash my hands of this situation, and Jesus is condemned to die by crucifixion on Friday. Jesus dies on the Friday, and it starts with his torture and humiliation. He is whipped, he is mocked and humiliated, the crown of thorns placed upon his head. He's forced to march through the streets carrying the cross until he is eventually nailed to it up on the hills. For Christians, this is a day of great sadness and mourning. It is a day to remember the sacrifice that Jesus made, just as he predicted at the Last Supper. Easter Saturday is a day of prayer. For Catholics, it's called a vigil, where you stay up and you pray for the deceased. Obviously, the Gospels don't really say anything about what happens on the Saturday. Jesus is in the tomb, but the Apostles' Creed makes reference to the harrowing of hell. This is where actually they believe that on Easter Saturday, this is where Jesus descends into hell to liberate the souls of the righteous who've been trapped there. But it's not a belief that all Christians share. It's a very Catholic idea. And then obviously on Sunday, early on Sunday morning, we've got the resurrection, which is Easter Sunday. And so I know from looking at my YouTube statistics that quite a few people don't actually watch past a couple of minutes of my videos. I don't understand why. It's clearly very interesting. But if you made it this far, that's brilliant. And I'm going to give you a little chance of a reward. If you see me at school and you know this special password, come say it to me. I'll give you a reward. The password is #EwoksForever. So how are the events of Easter celebrated in different ways by Christians? We've seen that the Last Supper actually institutes Holy Communion. So the taking of bread and wine in some form is practiced by Christians all over the world, with many of them definitely taking part in Holy Communion at Easter. We also have seen that Good Friday, that day of execution, is the day of prayer and contemplation, remembrance of Jesus' sacrifice, and on Easter Sunday is a big celebration of the resurrection, the defeat of death by Jesus. He is risen. There are some differences in the way it's celebrated. For example, with Orthodox Christians, they will often go to the church on Saturday and the church will be in complete darkness. And then as Easter Sunday arrives, they'll flood the church with light to represent moving from the darkness of the tomb where Jesus was placed to the resurrection light on Sunday. In the Anglican tradition, that's Church of England Christians, they will include as part of their Easter celebrations the lighting of a Paschal candle. Paschal, Paschal. I was struggling with that word. A Paschal candle, which is a candle specifically for celebration at Easter. Paschal candle. I won't forget that. Churches will often be filled with flowers on Easter Sunday. It is a festival that we celebrate at springtime with those new flowers linked in Christianity once again to new life, and a real emphasis on that celebration because, of course, Jesus coming back to life is the guarantee of salvation for human beings. So that's about that then. We have covered the events of Holy Week. We talked about how Christians celebrate those events and what significance they have for them. There's a Kahoot quiz for you to do now. I will know which ones you get wrong. And don't forget the special password to tell me when you see me at school. Okay then, bye, bye, see you, bye, bye.